The knife sliced through the towering cake like a betrayal waiting to happen. Sharp, inevitable, and laced with the sweetness of lies we'd both pretended weren't rotting us from the inside. Arthur's hand trembled as he gripped the silver handle, his knuckles white against the porcelain skin his mama always bragged about, the kind that flushed red when he was mad or drunk or both. "To us," he said, his voice cracking like cheap thunder over the Hudson, and the room, our room, filled with 200 souls who'd flown in from every coast, leaned in, champagne flutes raised like fragile shields. But then Sean's eyes met mine across the cake stand, dark and steady as the subway tunnels we'd first kissed in, and something in me snapped. Not the love. Never the love. It was the fear. The goddamn American dream we'd chased from Brooklyn stoops to this rooftop penthouse in Midtown, only to find it built on sand. "To us?" Sean echoed, his smile a quiet anchor, but I saw it. The flicker, the secret he'd buried deeper than my daddy's prejudices. And before the words could settle, I hurled the slice right at him, frosting exploding like shrapnel across his crisp white shirt. The room inhaled as one, a collective gasp that sucked the air from the chandeliers dangling like guilty stars. Sean's face. God, that face, carved from mahogany and mischief, didn't flinch. Not a twitch. He just stood there, cake crumbling down his lapels, while the party we'd planned for 2 years dissolved into horrified whispers. My husband, my everything, covered in the ruins of our forever. It started in the rain-slick streets of Greenwich Village, back when Obama was still president and marriage equality felt like a fever dream we could almost touch. I was Arthur Hayes, 25 and freshly out, bartending at a dive called the Rusty Nail, slinging Manhattans to poets and pickpockets who blurred into the same haze of neon regret. Sean Washington blew in one Tuesday night like a storm off the Atlantic, tall, broad-shouldered, with a fade that hugged his skull like a promise and eyes that laughed before his mouth caught up. He ordered a whiskey neat, slid a 20 across the bar with fingers that smelled like fresh ink and city grit, and said, "Make it strong, baby. I've got a ex to forget." I laughed, because what else do you do when lightning strikes your shift? Poured it heavy, watched him sip slow, and by closing time, we were trading stories in the alley behind the bar, rain pattering on the dumpster like impatient applause. He was a graphic designer, freelancing for ad agencies that paid him half what they owed, sketching logos for brands that wouldn't touch his skin in their billboards. "They want diversity on paper," he said, lighting a cigarette with a Zippo that clinked like old jazz. "But not in the boardroom. Not on my terms." I told him about my folks in Ohio, farm folk who prayed harder for my straightness than for rain in July. Coming out had been a quiet war. Dad's silence at the dinner table, Mom's Bible verses slipped into care packages like grenades. But Sean, he got it, leaned in close, smoke curling between us, and murmured, "Then let's burn it all down, Arthur. Start with this." His lips on mine tasted like bourbon and rebellion, and just like that, we were hooked. We moved fast, the way New York demands. Sublet a walk-up in Harlem where the walls thrummed with bass from the bodega below. Spent weekends hiking the Palisades or crashing queer brunches in Bushwick. Sean taught me to draw, his hands over mine as we shaded charcoal skies, whispering how lines could bend without breaking. I taught him to two-step at hole-in-the-wall country bars upstate, where he'd spin me under string lights until we collapsed laughing in the hay. Love wasn't fireworks for us. It was the slow burn of shared silences, of him braiding my anxiety into something manageable over late-night ramen. But America doesn't let you forget your skin, or mine, pale as the privilege it carried. Sean's gigs dried up after a client rethought their inclusive campaign, muttering about fit. My family visited once, Dad eyeing Sean's art on the walls like it was contraband, Mom asking if he knew Jesus over pot roast that went cold. We fought our first real fight that night, Sean slamming the door to the fire escape, yelling, "I'm not your redemption arc, Arthur. I won't be the NR who makes your folks proud by staying quiet." I chased him down 3 flights, rain soaking us again, and pulled him into a hug that tasted like salt. "You're not redemption," I whispered. "You're home." We made love under the downpour, clothes plastered, hearts raw, and promised we'd build something unbreakable. A life, a ring, a cake we'd cut together, not shatter. 2 years blurred into proposals on the Brooklyn Bridge at dawn, job hunts that landed me a marketing gig at a firm that actually gave a damn, Sean scoring a book deal for his illustrations, queer icons reimagined in vibrant oils. The wedding was our masterpiece. Rooftop at the Standard, skyline glittering like we'd tamed the city. Invites to everyone. My sister from Cleveland, his cousins from Atlanta, the village crew who'd toasted our first date. We wrote vows that ached with truth. Mine about choosing him over comfort. His about loving me fierce despite the world's whitewashed gaze. The cake was 5 tiers of vanilla and bourbon, topped with edible gold, Sean's idea. Because we're worth celebrating, baby. As the officiant pronounced us husbands, the crowd erupted, petals raining like confetti from heaven. We kissed slow, deep, the kind that erases doubts, and for a heartbeat, it was perfect. Then Marcus showed up, Sean's old college roommate, uninvited but crashing like a bad habit, nursing a grudge from some forgotten slight. He cornered me during photos, breath sour with scotch, hissing, "You know about Jamal, right? The one Sean swore was just a friend last summer in Chicago." My stomach dropped. Jamal. The name from a late-night call I'd overheard. Sean laughing too easy, too late. "Business trip," he'd said. But Marcus's eyes gleamed with malice, spilling details like venom. Hotel bar. Too many drinks. Bodies tangled in a sweet Sean had expense to his firm. "He came back reeking of regret," Marcus sneered. "But hey, boys will be boys. Or whatever you white boys tell yourselves." I shoved him off, vision blurring. But the seed was planted. Doubt, that old American poison, seeped in. Was this the betrayal I'd always feared? Not from the world, but from us? From him choosing escape over the fight we'd sworn? By cake time, it festered. Sean's hand on the knife felt like a lie. The room spun with toasts. His auntie's prayer for strong unions. My buddy's joke about tying the knot tighter than traffic on the 405. And when Sean turned to me, that smile, I saw Jamal's ghost in it. The knife slipped from my grip. No, the cake. My hand lunged, scooping a fistful, and flung it. Splat. Silence. Sean's tux ruined, our dreams smeared across his chest. He didn't yell, didn't shove, just looked at me, eyes welling but steady. And in that quiet, the party held its breath. Sean's hand rose slow, deliberate, like he was conducting some invisible symphony of grace amid the wreckage. The frosting clung to his cufflinks. Gold bands engraved with our initials. ANS, forever mocked now by the mess. "Arthur," he said, voice low but carrying over the stunned hush. "This cake, it's us. Sweet on top, but underneath." He paused, fingers tracing a rivulet of white down his tie. His gaze locking mine with the weight of every midnight promise we'd broken and mended. "Underneath, it's the bitter we chose anyway." The crowd, 200 faces we'd curated like a playlist of our life, froze in a tableau of awkward luxury. My sister Claire clutched her napkin, tears streaking her mascara. Sean's cousin Tasha whispered, "Jesus, take the wheel," under her breath. The DJ, bless his panicked soul, killed the playlist mid-dash at last, leaving only the distant honk of taxis 30 floors below, mocking our elevated drama. I stood there, palms sticky with regret, the empty cake plate between us like a battlefield scar. Sean, but words choked, tangled in the thorns of Marcus's whisper, the echo of that Chicago call. Was it true? Had he slipped, just once, into arms that weren't mine, chasing solace from the world's endless audit of his blackness? Our queerness? He stepped closer, cake shedding like autumn leaves, and cupped my face. Gentle, always so goddamn gentle. "Not here," he murmured, thumb brushing my jaw, the touch that had unraveled me 1,000 times. "Not like this." Then, turning to the room, he raised his voice, steady as gospel. "Y'all, this is our wedding, not a funeral. Arthur and I, we've fought storms fiercer than a little sugar rush." Laughter rippled, tentative. as he scooped a dollop from his shoulder and smeared it across my cheek, slow and deliberate. See? Now we're even. The party exhaled, applause stuttering to life, but I tasted the undercurrent. The pity glances, the side eyes wondering if this was the crack in our fairy tale. We cut the real slice then, fed each other bites that stuck in our throats, smiles plastered like frosting. But as the night wore on, dancing under stars we'd rented, toasts sloshing into slurred affection, the ghost lingered. Marcus slunk out early, smirking like he'd lit the fuse and walked away clean. Later, in the bridal suite, our suite, all silk sheets and skyline views, Sean peeled off his ruined shirt, revealing the tattoo I'd traced 100 times. A bridge arching over turbulent waves, inked during our first anniversary in Jersey. You want to talk about it? He asked, back to me as he rinsed in the marble sink, water drumming like accusations. I paced, tie loosened, the bourbon from the open bar burning holes. Chicago, Jamal, Marcus said. He turned, water beating on his chest like unshed tears, expression softening into that weary, knowing I'd come to both love and loathe. Marcus is a snake in silk, Arthur. Always has been. Jealous 'cause I left that life behind. He crossed to me, towel slung low, pulling me down onto the chaise. Last summer, yeah, the trip. But Jamal? Old friend from design school. We talked shop, crashed on his couch after a pitch went south. Nothing more. Scout's honor. Relief flooded, hot and humiliating, but doubt's hook was barbed. Why the call then? Laughing like you had a secret. Sean sighed, deep as the Hudson at low tide, and drew me close, his heartbeat steady under my ear. Because I was happy, baby. Happy we'd made it, me pitching to suits who didn't flinch at my face, you killing it at that firm. I called to tell you, but you were swamped. So I laughed with Jamal about old times. That's the secret. Joy without you for 5 minutes. I buried my face in his neck, inhaling the clean scent of him. Soap and sandalwood. The cologne I'd bought him in Soho, I'm sorry. God, the cake. He chuckled, low and rumbling, fingers carding through my hair. Epic, though. Our grandkids'll tell it as legend. The wedding where Grandpa Arthur declared war on dessert. We made love then, slow and reclaiming, bodies mapping forgiveness in the dark. His whispers, I choose you, always, erased the doubt, or so I thought. But morning brought the headlines on our phones. Blurry guest pics trending on some gossip site, queer power couples cake catastrophe, love or lunacy? America ate it up, of course. We were the perfect storm, interracial, gay, New York glossy. Pundits on cable dissected it over coffee. Is this the fragility of modern marriage? One white lady in pearls opined. Sean's mentions exploded, clients pulling back again, whispering about drama. My firm called a chat. HR speak for tone it down, Hayes. We hunkered in our Harlem nest, ordering Thai from the spot on 125th, binging old rom-coms where love always won the third act. This is our montage, Sean joked, feeding me spring rolls. But his eyes shadowed, the weight of eyes on us heavier than cake. Weeks turned to months, the wedding a scar we poked at in quiet moments. I threw myself into work, pitching campaigns for queer brands. Rainbow sneakers, pride flags on billboards. Irony thick as the hypocrisy I ignored in my own chest. Sean dove into his book, illustrations bursting with color. Us as superheroes, capes fluttering over cityscapes scarred by lightning. But Marcus's poison lingered, manifesting in my nightmares. Sean slipping away, laughter echoing from hotel rooms I couldn't reach. Then came the family trip. My folks insisted on Thanksgiving in Ohio, neutral ground, or so they claimed. Bring Sean, Mom said over the phone, voice syrupy. We've got recipes he might like, soul food twists. Dad grunted agreement, but I heard the edge. We flew into Cleveland fog, rented a Subaru that smelled like new car lies, and drove the back roads to the farm. Cornfields stripped bare, silos standing sentinel. Sean's hand squeezed mine at every yield sign. His quiet strength, my GPS dinner was a minefield. Turkey dry as Dad's jokes, yams spiced just shy of flavor to keep it light. Mom fussed over Sean's plate, More greens, dear, for that energy. While Dad eyed the TV, Fox News droning about traditional values. Cracked after pie. Dad cornered me in the garage, oil-stained hands on a wrench, muttering, "Son, you sure about this? He's different. Folks talk." Sean, overhearing from the porch, didn't storm in. Just stepped into the chill, coat draped over his arm, and said, "Mr. Hayes, Arthur's my world. If that's different, then praise God for variety." Dad blinked, tool clattering, and for a beat, silence held court. Then Mom bustled out with coffee, diffusing with chatter about grandbabies. Adopted, of course, but the air hummed. We left early, Sean driving, radio low on Nina Simone. "You okay?" I asked, hand on his thigh. He glanced over, profile sharp against the dashboard glow. "Always, for you." But that night in the motel, he held me tighter, breaths ragged, and I wondered if the cake was just the first throw. Back in the city, cracks widened. Sean's book deal soured, publisher citing market shifts. Code for the viral wedding clips scaring off buyers. My promotion stalled, boss hinting at personal brand alignment. We fought in snatches. Me accusing him of hiding more, him calling out my paranoia as the real intruder. "This ain't about Jamal, Arthur. It's about you believing the world when it says we can't last." One night, after a bar crawl in the village, old haunts mocking our frayed edges, we stumbled home to find the door ajar. Inside, graffiti on the wall, "FT Wedding Wannabes." Glass shattered from a rock through the window. Rainbow sticker we'd slapped on years ago, now cracked like our vows. Sean sank to the floor amid the shards, not crying, just staring. I knelt, pulling him close, but his whisper cut. "How long till you throw more than cake?" Winter clamped down on New York like a jealous lover, snow piling against our windowsills, burying the city in white lies that matched the frost in our bed. We'd stopped sleeping tangled. Now it was backs turned, the space between us a chasm filled with unspoken indictments. Sean buried in his sketchpad till dawn, lines emerging fierce, bridges crumbling, figures reaching across voids. I scrolled job boards at 3 a.m., pitching myself to agencies in LA, wondering if escape wore skinny jeans and a tan. The betrayal Marcus planted? It bloomed ugly. Not Jamal, that was vapor, but a deeper rot, my own complicity. I'd seen the stares at the wedding, the white aunties clutching pearls when Sean danced too close, the uncles who toasted tolerance like it was a favor. And me? I'd laughed it off, arm around him like a shield that was more prop. When the vandalism hit the news, hate crime at Harlem Love Nest. Reporters swarmed, microphones thrusting like accusations. "Mr. Hayes, does this test your marriage?" One asked, her smile all teeth. Sean fielded it with poise on the stoop, snowflakes catching in his lashes. "Love tests itself, ma'am. Hate just reminds us why we fight." But inside he shattered, punched the wall till knuckles split, blood smearing the same spot the graffiti scarred. I bandaged him in silence, antiseptic stinging, his eyes distant as the farm we'd fled. "Let's get out," I said finally, voice cracking over takeout lo mein. "Philly, maybe, or Boston. Fresh start." He laughed, bitter as black coffee. "Running? That's your play, Arthur? We built here. Every brick, every scar." But his hand found mine across the cardboard containers, squeezed tentative, and for a night we pretended. Slow jazz on the record player, his head on my lap as I read poetry. Langston Hughes, verses about dreams deferred exploding like the cake I'd thrown. Spring thawed us unevenly. Sean landed a gig illustrating for a queer lit mag, portraits of trans elders that made critics weep. I scored freelance, ads for a nonprofit pushing marriage rights in red states. We hosted a dinner, intimate, just the core crew. Claire, now dating a non-binary artist, Tasha, with stories from Atlanta's ballroom scene. Our DJ buddy spinning vinyl. Laughter flowed, wine loosening tongues, and when Sean pulled me up for a spin to Ain't No Mountain High Enough, the room cheered like it was our wedding encore. But Marcus circled back, a serpent in DMs. "Saw the news. Tough break. If you need an ear, or more, Hit me. Attached. A photo from Chicago, Sean and Jamal arm in arm at a gala. Smiles wide. Context? None. Venom? Pure. I confronted Sean over breakfast. Avocado toast going cold, sunlight slanting judgmental through the blinds. This. Explain. He glanced, fork pausing. Design awards. Jamal's firm hosted. Networking Arthur. You were in Ohio that weekend, remember? Dad's birthday. The pieces slotted, yes, the call, the laughter. But doubt was a drug, and I was hooked. Why delete the pics? Why the secrecy? Because Marcus sent it to me too, stirring shit then. I trashed it to starve the fire. His voice rose, rare thunder. You think I'm the villain here? The black boy who can't keep his promises? Or is it you, swallowing every whisper 'cause deep down, you wonder if I'm too much for your world? The words landed like fists, true, ugly. I stormed out, pounding pavement from Harlem to Central Park, joggers blurring past as I replayed it all. The cake, the graffiti, the farm's chill. Was love enough against this? America, land of the free, but chains on our wrists, racial, queer, invisible till they snapped. I found solace in a bench by the reservoir, phone buzzing ignored. Hours later, Sean texted home. Please. The apartment smelled of sage. He'd smudged, windows open to summer breeze. Sitting cross-legged on the rug, sketchpad open to a new drawing. Us, hand in hand on that bridge, but now with wings, delicate, iridescent. Forgive me, he said, no preamble, pulling me down beside him. For not fighting louder, for letting you carry the weight alone. I traced the wings, ink still wet. It's me, always waiting for the fall. We talked till dusk, unspooling the threads. My internalized bullshit from Dad's sermons, his exhaustion from code switching at every pitch. We're human, Arthur. Messy, but chosen. His kiss sealed it, soft as forgiveness. Leading to the bedroom where we rebuilt, bodies a map of amends. Summer peaked in a road trip, ourselves. Subaru packed, we hit Route 66 in reverse. Chicago first, Jamal's invite a peace offering. He was a soft-spoken accountant now, with a husband named Raj. Their brownstone a haven of curry and comics. Over ribs at a soul food joint, Jamal clapped Sean's back. Heard about the cake war. Legendary. Laughter eased the knot in my gut. Proof in flesh that trust wasn't blind. It was built. Westward, canyons swallowed us. Zion's Red Rock a sermon on endurance. Sean's hand in mine as we hiked, sweat mingling. This, he panted at a vista, wind whipping, is us. Vast. Unbreakable. Nights in motels, stars pricking the desert dome, we made love with windows open. Coyotes howling approval. But climax brewed back east. Fall semester started. Sean adjunct at NYU, lecturing on visual narratives in queer lit. I landed a lead on a campaign, big budget, for a streaming doc on interracial love. Irony? Thick. Then Marcus struck again. Emailed my boss a tip, fabricated screenshots of Sean, venting online about white fragility. Twisted from a private forum post. The fallout? Meeting in HR's fishbowl office. Boss's face pinched. Arthur, this. Optics. We love your work. But. Optics. I exploded, chair scraping. My husband's words. Taken out of context by a bitter ex-friend? Sean waited outside, face thunderous when I spilled. That motherfucker. I got his number now. But instead of rage, he planned. Confronted Marcus at a coffee shop in Soho. Me in the shadows. Words flew. Accusations. Apologies forced from Marcus's lips like bile. I envied you, he admitted, slumping. The life I couldn't hack. Sean walked out unbroken, turning to me with a grin. Done. Ghosted forever. Relief was short. That night, over tie again, Sean dropped the bomb. I'm taking the book deal. The one in LA, 6 figures, creative control. But it's solo. I need space to breathe, Arthur. To be more than our story. My world tilted. Betrayal anew. Not infidelity, but abandonment. LA? We just. Not goodbye. Just pause. His eyes pleaded, hand over mine. The cake taught me, love isn't possession. It's release. I nodded, throat tight, but inside, the storm raged. Was this the quiet move, or the end? Los Angeles hit Sean like a sequel he hadn't auditioned for. Palm trees arching like judgmental fingers, smog veiling the Hollywood sign in ironic haze. He flew out in September, duffel stuffed with sketches and doubts. Our goodbye at JFK a kiss that lingered too long, tasting of airport coffee and unsaid fears. Video every night, I promised, holding him till security pried us apart. Build something fierce out there. New York without him was a hollow echo. Subways rattling empty, our bed a vast plain of rumpled sheets. I threw myself into the doc campaign, interviews with couples like us, stories of cops at pride parades, church burnings in the South. One widow, her wife lost to a hate crime in 90s Wyoming, gripped my hand. Love's the real revolution, son. Don't let fear steal your fire. Her words haunted, a mirror to my creeping panic. Sean thrived, or so his calls painted. Studio in Silver Lake, collaborators buzzing like bees on his vision. Queer black heroes reclaiming the western frontier. It's magic, Arthur, he'd say, voice crackling over FaceTime. Backdrop of succulents and scripts. Like we're redrawing the map. But the silences grew, questions unasked. Who was the laugh in the background? The late-night meeting that silenced his phone? Betrayal's echo chamber amplified. I dug. Foolish, frantic. Scrolling his Insta lives, glimpsing a producer named Diego. Chiseled Latino, easy grin, hands clapping Sean's shoulders too familiar. A post. Them at a rooftop bar, city lights haloing, caption Dream Team Unlocked. My gut twisted. Was this Jamal 2.0? Or worse, the life he built without me? Claire called it out over beers in Brooklyn. You're spiraling? Bro, love him or let him go. But letting go felt like drowning. I booked a flight, surprise visit, romantic redemption. Landed in LAX heat. Uber to his bungalow, heart hammering like bass at the rusty nail. The door swung open mid-laugh, Sean's, rich and unguarded. Inside, Diego, shirtless in board shorts, them sprawled on the couch over takeout burritos, a script between. Sean's eyes widened, joy flashing then clouding. Arthur? Baby. Diego bolted, tactful exit, leaving us in stunned static. What the hell? Sean exploded, rare fury. You fly cross-country to play detective? I deflated, words tumbling. The scrolls, the doubts, Marcus's ghost. I saw the pics, the laughs. Thought I was fucking around? He paced, muscles coiling under his tank. Diego's straight, married to his high school sweetheart. We're collabing, Arthur. Building, not betraying. He stopped, face crumpling. But you don't trust me. After everything. The fight was biblical. Yells bouncing off adobe walls, accusations flying like that cake slice. You left, I shouted. Chose LA over us. I chose me, he roared back. The black gay man who's tired of being your anchor in a storm you half welcome. Tired of smiling through the stairs. The slights you minimize, 'cause it's easier. He packed my bag, metaphoric, shoving clothes at me. Go, think, but decide. Am I partner or project? I fled to a motel in Echo Park. Neon buzzing accusations. Nights scrolling our old texts. Miss you like air. Forever's our speed. Dawn brought clarity, sharp as desert sun. I wasn't losing him to Diego or distance. I was losing him to my fear, the American inheritance of scarcity. Love as zero-sum, especially when it crossed lines of color code. Back at the bungalow, Sean waited on the porch, coffee steaming, eyes red-rimmed. I'm sorry, I started, kneeling like a supplicant, for doubting, for making you carry double. He pulled me up, embrace fierce. And I'm sorry for running. Thought space would heal, but it just echoed. We talked till noon, raw, unfiltered, therapy, maybe couples. Boundaries for the long distance. Him mentoring at a queer youth center here, me scouting LA gigs. We're not broken, he said, forehead to mine. Just bent. Like that bridge. Reunion sealed in his bed. Bodies rediscovering rhythms. Diego's script forgotten on the floor. But America intruded. The doc premiered at Tribeca, virtual panel post-flight. Clips went viral. Us on a couch, Sean eloquent on intersectional love, me choking up on the widow's words. Backlash flooded. Trolls calling us woke propaganda. A Fox segment decrying gay agendas ruining family values. Then the call. Sean's mom, from Atlanta, voice trembling. Baby, they're at the house. Protesters. Signs saying y'all ain't right. We race south. Me driving the rental through Georgia Pines. Sean silent, fists clenched. The porch mob. 10 deep, crosses blazing in the yard. Chants of one man, one woman. His folks shielded inside, but a brick sailed, shattering the living room window. Sean charged out, me hauling him back. Enough! He bellowed, voice carrying like thunder. This is my home, my love. Arthur's my husband. Deal with it or leave. Silence fell, heavy as ash. One woman dropping her sign, tears streaking. We're done hating, she muttered, dispersing the pack. Inside, over sweet tea and hugs, his dad gripped my shoulder. Boy, you threw cake at my son, but you came back. That's manhood. Laughter broke, tentative, mending. But climax crested back in L.A. Sean's book launch. Grand affair at a WeHo bookstore. Celebs milling, press flashing. I stood proud, arm around him as he read. Love ain't linear. It's a bridge over bullshit. Held by hands that scar but never let go. Applause thundered. Post-party. In the green room, Marcus appeared. Uninvited, suit rumpled, eyes wild. Sean, you owe me. For keeping your secrets. Lies spilled. Twisted tales of Chicago flings. Fabricated texts. The room hushed, publishers, fans, Diego gaping. Sean stepped forward, quiet as the eye. Marcus, you want the floor? Take it. But truth's heavier. He turned to the mic, voice steady. Y'all see this man? He tried to break us. With whispers, with hate. But Arthur and I, we chose grace. Then to Marcus, go heal, or go dark. Your call. Marcus crumpled, slinking out to security's grip. The room erupted, not in scandal but solidarity. Hugs, toasts, to quiet moves. That night, Sean and I on his balcony. City sprawl below, he whispered. The cake was your storm. This, our calm. The quiet move lingered like afterglow, reshaping us in ways neither anticipated. Marcus's arrest made tabloids, wedding wrecker busted at Book Bash. But we let lawyers handle the noise, focusing on the rebuild. Sean wrapped the book tour in a blaze. Sold-out readings from Seattle to Miami, fans queuing for signed sketches of bridges unbroken. I tagged along when gigs aligned, our hotel nights a caravan of connection, room service and revelations, plotting a future that straddled coasts. Thanksgiving pulled us to Ohio, unscripted encore. Dad met us at the gate, flannel crisp, a sign scrawled, Hayes, Washington. Home edition. No sermons, just pie warm from the oven, Sean's yams stealing the show. Over cards. Rummy, family ritual. Dad cleared his throat. Arthur? That cake stunt? Foolish. But fighting for him? Proud. Sean blinked back tears, squeezing my knee under the table. The gesture saying, see? Grace works. Christmas in Atlanta sealed the thaw. Sean's clan enveloped us. Cousins grilling ribs in the yard. Aunties schooling me in collard greens. His mom pulling me aside. You hurt him once. Don't again. But love like that, rare as hen's teeth. We exchanged rings anew. Simple bands engraved bent but soaring. Under a mistletoe strung with lights, the family cheering like it was the wedding redo. Spring brought decisions. I quit the firm, freelance blooming into a consultancy for inclusive media. Sean inked a sequel deal but with a New York publisher, hybrid life, month split. We bought a place upstate, old farmhouse on 10 acres. Views of the Catskills like God's apology. Renovations were therapy. Sean painting murals of winged lovers, me hammering beams, sweat erasing old fractures. But humanism demands shadows. Summer solstice, a letter arrived, Dad's script, shaky. Cancer, stage 3. We drove west, the Subaru groaning under care packages. Hospital room sterile as regret. Mom weeping soft, Dad frail but fierce. Regrets? He rasped, for dripping. Sean sat bedside, hand in his. None worth keeping, sir. But stories? Plenty. He sketched then, quick lines on a napkin. Dad as cowboy, lassoing stars. Dad chuckled, wheezing, queer art saves the day. Who knew? He passed in July, harvest moon full, us at the farm holding vigil. Eulogy at the Baptist church. Irony thick. Sean spoke. Mr. Hayes taught us love's a bridge. Cross it, even scared. Whispers of approval rippled. A cousin nodded. Amen to that. Grief bent us, but didn't break. Fall leaves turned, mirroring our pivot. Sean adjuncting again. Me launching a podcast. Bridges over bullshit. Interviews with queer couples navigating the American gauntlet. Episodes trended. The trans couple in Texas fighting bans. The bi icon from the Bronx on visibility's cost. Listeners wrote, your cake story? Gave us courage. Climax revisited in December, our first anniversary. Back at the standard. Rooftop aglow, small circle. Claire, Tasha, Jamal and Raj via video. No cake. Instead, pie apple humble. We cut it together, no throws, just toasts. To quiet moves, Sean said, eyes on mine. That speak loudest. But life scripts twists. New Year's, a call from L.A., Diego's firm, offering me a co-produce gig on Sean's doc adaptation. Your voice? The email read, grounds it. Tempting sun, synergy, but roots tugged. We debated fireside, snow tapping panes. Go if it calls, Sean urged. I'm not fragile glass. I stayed. Not fear but choice, the farm needed tending, our bridge widening. Instead, we hosted a queer retreat there. Artists, activists, 30 souls under oaks, workshops on mending. Sean led drawing circles, me facilitating talks on betrayal's anatomy. One night, bonfire crackling, a young kid, 18, fresh out, confided, saw your wedding clip, thought, if they survived cake, maybe I can survive mom. Sean slung an arm around him. Kid, cake's just the start. Love's the feast. Years folded. Book 2 a bestseller, Pulitzer whisper. My pod a network darling. Kids came. Foster first, 2 brothers from the Bronx, brown-skinned whirlwinds who called us pops. Adoption papers signed on the farm porch, rain pattering like our first kiss. Weddings for Claire, Tasha. Grandkid giggles echoing at holidays. Old age crept gentle. Sean's hair silvered like frost on bridges. My hands arthritic but steady in his. Rocking chairs on the wraparound, sunsets painting the hills, we'd recount. The cake, Marcus, Dad's napkin sketch, like talismans. One evening, as fireflies danced, Sean turned, eyes still that deep, laughing brown. Worth the throw. I leaned in, kiss soft as memory. Every splatter, led here. He nodded, quiet move eternal. Hand over heart, pulse sinking. In America's vast, scarred tapestry, we'd woven ours. Dramatic, emotional, romantic, raw. Not perfect, human. And in that, unbreakable. The end? Not just the next slice.